Hey friends, this is Lauren from Mama's Learning Corner, and I'm so glad you've joined me here today on YouTube. I have a curriculum that I want to share with you that I think you're going to love, especially if your oldest child is in the early kindergarten, first grade years. And it's called Tapestry Primer. For years, our family has used Tapestry of Grace, which is a very literature-based, rich, classical-ish history curriculum. And when I say classical-ish, it certainly follows a 4-year history cycle. However, it's just packed with living books, and we love it. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is Tapestry Primer, which is designed by Tapestry of Grace for homeschool families who still all have littles. When the oldest child is, really starting kindergarten or in the kindergarten year, first grade. Tapestry Primer is literature-based, which means that you have living books that you read each week. It's certainly not out of a textbook type learning. I love living books. There's nothing like them. So it's based off of living books. There's activities that you can or cannot do each week. It even has a little booklet of coloring pages and very simple activities to do to reinforce what you're reading with your young ones. So I want to take you through each component of Tapestry of Grace Primer and show you how I plan that with my own kids. Now I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, an almost 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So that's really 5th grade, 3rd grade, 1st grade, and then early kindergarten. She's definitely not ready to read yet. So I use this particular curriculum with my kindergartner and 1st grader, and it was a hit. They loved it. And the only thing I wish is that I had had this curriculum when my oldest son was in the 1st grade range. So I really wanted to review Tapestry Primer with my 7-year-old and my 5-year-old because I know that so many of you have children in that age range, and I know that you are looking for curriculum and activities, and I know that your time is tight, just like mine, and so you don't want planning to take up an enormous portion of your week. And I think you're going to be really pleased with Tapestry Primer. And I'll tell you, Tapestry Primer is going to be a good fit for you if your oldest child is in the kindergarten, 1st grade age range. If you're looking for a biblical worldview in your history curriculum, this is certainly based on God's plan and His. You can see His hand all throughout history with Tapestry, which is one of the things that I love about it. If you're looking for something that is literature-based, meaning that you read good living books as opposed to reading out of a textbook or watching a video, this is definitely very literature-rich, which I love. Tapestry Primer is going to take you through from creation all the way to modern times. And it's broken down into little chunks that they call mini units. So if you're looking for something that spans a broad span of time, but gives you just like a little snapshot of what that period of time was like, this is going to be perfect for your homeschool. So follow along with me, and I'll show you how I plan Tapestry Primer for my little girls, a week of how I plan this. It's going to be so easy, and the planning time is pretty minimal from week to week. I think you'll be pleased. So the first step in planning your week with Tapestry Primer is to look in the Primer Handbook. It comes 3-hole punched, and I just put mine in a 1/2-inch binder just so I could easily pull it off of my shelf when I need it. And you can see in the scope and sequence that there's 12 considered mini units, and in each of those mini units, they each take about 3 weeks or so. You can certainly spread them out over 3, 5, 6 weeks, whatever is best for your own homeschool. The first several units cover church history, which of course is world history. From creation to Eden to Egypt, studying about the tabernacle, the promised land, Babylon and Persia. Our particular family had just studied creation in Egypt and the tabernacle pretty in depth, so I did not start primer with in the first mini unit. We started here in let's see, in Unit 2, mini Unit 2, and we started with the heart of the king. And so then, it flowed into Babylon and Persia, and it certainly went and touched on judges and how the Israelites were just so disobedient during that time period. So that's the particular week that we have just recently studied with this review. So I will show you how easy it is to plan your week. So this particular one was the week for the Heart of the King. It's mini Unit 2. And you'll see here, learn to read. This is your phonics and spelling and math curriculum. And then here, under history, you'll see what your learning objectives are going to be. You'll see what your literature objectives are going to be, what the memory work and the geography, and then the arts and activities if you choose to do those. So this is just an overview of your week, just so you quickly as the mom know what you are going to be discussing with your kids and reading with your kids. So here's the assignment page, which I love. Look how simple it is, just for one week. It's not overwhelming. This is a very doable, practical curriculum with your young children. So again, it reminds you about your phonics and spelling and math, and you can just check those off when you've completed them for the week. In history, you'll see exactly what pages in the books that you're supposed to read. Literature, of course, well, with biblical history, some of those things, tend to just blend together. So I assigned how many of these that we wanted to read each day on my planning form. I wrote the memory words down that I wanted us to remember. And they're very simple. Like for this particular section, which is on the Philistines and how they're constantly arguing with the Israelites, the words were armor, sling, harp, alphabet, and ship. And those are certainly practical memory words that that we can remember. My young ones can remember. We also practice writing those. There's lots that you can do with memory work. And then there's a geography section, and then there's an arts and activities section. And you certainly don't have to do all of those. The beautiful thing about Tapestry of Grace, whether you're doing primer or year plan, is that you can choose exactly what you want to do or not do, whatever is going to fit your family the best. So from Old Testament days, this is a particular book with lots of activities. The suggestions were to practice hiding in caves or to make a lyre. But there's also other activities in Old Testament days that you could choose if these just don't fit your family. And then that's it. Then that's the end of this mini unit, and it would go on to the next one, which is as we move into Babylon. But this is just a very doable program. There's not so much packed into a day that you feel overwhelmed trying to accomplish it. But it's enough that you can catch a little glimpse and really understand this big picture concept. So this is where I always start, which is the handbook. And I'll show you where to go next. The next step I take in planning Tapestry Primer for my young children is to use the guidebook. And to me, this is the gold mine of Tapestry Primer. I was not a person that had really an adequate history education when I was in school. In fact, my knowledge of history was just so shamefully awful before starting Tapestry of Grace. I have learned so much more than my children have, and now I love history. It's by far my favorite subject at this point. But if you were like me and you're starting out thinking, I don't even know where to start with history, like I know nothing about it, I don't even know, my frame of reference is so awful, I just don't even know where to start. Well, this book is just really the icing on the cake. So this is the guidebook, and it is only for mom. You'll see it has a lot of text because it's for an adult. It's not for your child to read with you. There's an introduction to each of the mini units, who the main characters are, how they're going to play, what part they're going to play in the history that you're going to be reading. There's an overview for the whole mini unit, and then there's an overview for each particular topic because there's 3 topics in every mini unit. And so this is the one that we started on in our family, the Heart of the King. There's an introduction. So in this particular section, it talks about the Philistines and who they were and what they were like. There's descriptions of Saul and the monarchy and of David and how David became king and what his accomplishments were in the Ark of the Covenant. Then it moves on to Solomon, of course, as we move through history. It describes Phoenicia. I had no idea these details about Phoenicia until I read them in the book. So it just gives you enough background knowledge that you can really discuss these concepts and ideas and characters with your children. So I think this is the best, absolutely the best part of Primer that's available to parents. Definitely, this is definitely a must-have and a must-read for each week. So after I've looked in the handbook to plan exactly what we're going to read and which activities we're going to do, I then go to the guidebook and read the portion for the homeschooling mom so she has a good background knowledge of what the material is going to consist of. And then the third thing that I do is I go to the activity book, and they're divided into mini units, and this is the one for mini unit 3. And you'll find coloring pages, you'll find very simple cut and paste activities, more coloring pages, put the statue together, so you cut this out and then put it together. Very, very simple map work. As you can see, there's lots of coloring pages and a few mazes, but these activities are the ones that I let my children do as I was reading to them. I have kids that like to color, so this was a really good fit for them, that they could color the particular page of the account that we were on for the day. And I don't necessarily assign these by the day. If you're a very type A and you need to check off that box, certainly go ahead and assign them on your little planning page each day. But we would just go in and choose which one matched our day and then just go from there. And then some days, we didn't do these at all, and then we would double up the next day. But these are just fun little reinforcement pages. So the last component to Tapestry Primer is Love the Journey, which is a book written by Marcia Somerville, who was the author of the Tapestry of Grace program. I believe she has 6 children and has already graduated all of them through her homeschool. So she has years of wisdom and experience and expertise and just guidance to offer brand new homeschooling moms. And in fact, I have another video, if you haven't watched it. It's on 3 of the, there's so many homeschool choices in terms of books to read. What should I do? Philosophies to follow. That can be really overwhelming. So I have a whole video on the 3 that I consider to be must-reads. I was not familiar with Love the Journey at that time when I recorded that video, because I would have definitely included this. This is just the type of hand-holding that I needed as a new homeschool mom. I didn't have a lot of homeschool mom friends. I didn't have a family that was familiar with homeschooling and the challenges that brings. I just didn't have a whole lot of support, and so I needed a lot of hand-holding. And to be honest, sometimes I still do. And we're in our 6th year. Each year you face different challenges, but I think it's particularly difficult in those beginning years when you just feel so lost, and you probably have a bunch of little children and you really want to school them well and have a home that runs well and just be the best mother and teacher that you can be to them. And I'll tell you, that takes some work to figure out what that's going to be. But that's where books like Love the Journey come in. I'll read you a few of the sections, and they are just packed with that Titus 2 type of wisdom from a mother that's been there, done that, and wants to see you succeed as a brand new homeschool mom. So a few of these, why do you homeschool? If you haven't figured out why you homeschool yet, that is something that you need to work on, because once you can figure out why, then you can move forward and your plans will fall into place. So figure out why you're homeschooling. That's the first step, and Marcia walks you through it thought by thought. And it's just perfect if you're a new homeschooling mom and feel really lost. There's also ideas about who are your best friends. That makes a big difference. Keeping a quiet home. Don't we all strive for that one? Some of us have louder homes than others. What to do with preschoolers during this time. The difference between teaching boys and girls, and there is a difference, or at least I found that to be true in my house. Different categories when you're choosing curriculum. So this book, I kid you not, is like sitting down with a good friend who is just going to pour all her knowledge into you in a godly, wise way. I can't recommend it enough. It should definitely be on your bedside table. And I don't know who I was telling. Maybe it was my good friend. But I said, this is one of those. Oh, it was my good friend. We both love Seasons of a Mother's Heart. by Sally Clarkson. And I said this would be, Love the Journey would definitely be another one of those that I read absolutely every summer, because we all need that shot in the arm of, why we homeschool and to keep on keeping on. And it's just a good shot of encouragement. And this is certainly included in Tapestry Primer, because I consider, if you are a new homeschooling mom, this is something that you just must read. So to sum it up, what I love about Tapestry Primer is that it just holds your hand as a new homeschooling mom. And if you're a mom that needs that, this is right on for you. So definitely give it a thought and research it and see if it would be a good fit for your family. I'm very happy to answer any questions that you might have about it. And of course you can email the Tapestry people, because they are fabulous and so prompt to get back to you. Or if you have questions, you are certainly welcome to email me. I'd love to be able to help you if I can, just based on my experience with Tapestry Primer so far. My email is mama, which is M-A-M-A, at mamaslearningcorner.com. And again, it's M-A-M-A-S, learningcorner.com. I'd also love for you to visit Mama's Learning Corner soon and see if you can find some printables or worksheets or other homeschool encouragement that might be helpful for you to use in your own homeschool. All right, I look forward to seeing you there.